So for the part 2 of sketching Abhyudaya and Gautami from Slayy point, our main focus will be shifted from the darker, lighter tones of skin tone to a darker tones like 3B or 4B pencil. As I've discussed in previous part also, that for making a lighter parts it easy, for making a darker parts it is also easy. So for making a mid tones like skin tone of Gautami's and Abhyudaya, it is a little bit more tough. So like darker parts like eyebrows, nose, downside part of nose, like hairs, like beard, or this type of things are a little bit darker. So making it a blend with the face structure is a little bit more tougher. So for this thing, I have used 5B pencil for eyebrows and eyelashes and eye part. So after 5B pencil use, you can use a earbud also, but for the smaller parts like eyelashes and eyebrows, these are the smallest part. So to blend that parts with the skin tone, it is a little bit more tough. So these are the smallest part. So for that thing, use a blending stump which is the smallest one and blend it with a skin tone. And then again, if you see a little bit more darker parts, again use a 5B or 6B pencil, that will give you a more darker look. So after this type of contrast and this thing, use a mono eraser in the only part which you see little bit lighter. Don't apply so much pressure while making or applying the mono eraser, because if you will apply little bit more pressure to the mono eraser, it will give you a completely white look, like a drawing paper which is completely white. You can have that look if you will apply little bit more pressure, and no part of the face or skin texture is completely white. So for this purpose, always use mono eraser on the only parts which you see are little bit more lighter. And after that thing, just blend it using a makeup brush so that it doesn't give you a completely whiter look. So after this thing, neck part, for the neck part of Abhyudaya, the same technique that we have used on the face, the same technique will be applied to the neck also. Just make a base layer using 2B pencil, apply little bit details that you see, and then again use 3B or 4B pencil for the darker look, and again blend it using the earbuds. So after this thing, the main important thing while making a skin texture, if you don't see details like the portrait that I am using of Abhyudaya and Gautami, I don't see so much details. So if you don't see so much details, don't apply those details from your own, because problem is that if you don't have made 100 or 200 sketches, you don't see details directly. If you are a beginner, you will just use the blending stump or this type of smaller things like earbuds and these things, and you will make a completely flat look, but you will not focus on shading. And as I always say, and I will tell you again, that always focus on shading, don't focus on blending and this type of things, because the blend will give you a completely flat look, but shading will give you a realistic look. And as I always say, that focus on the realistic thing, because if someone will see your sketch, they should say that this is looking completely as the photo that they are watching. So this will be the main focus of yours. And after this thing, the t-shirt of Abhyudaya, which is completely blue, and I don't see so many details, because if you will use a details photo, you will see so many lighter parts, darker parts. Like if some part of the t-shirt or anything that someone is wearing, you will see some part darker, some part lighter, and so many details also. But the t-shirt of Abhyudaya is not having so much details, as the photo is not completely high resolution, it is a little bit flat look. So for this thing, I have used a charcoal stick. You can buy them, or if you don't have, you can use a charcoal pencil also. I have just made a base layer using a complete medium charcoal pencil. I have just sharpened it and I directly use them on my photos or portraits. So for this particular thing, means like the base layer for the t-shirt of Abhyudaya, just use a charcoal stick so that you can apply darker parts directly, or you don't have to just apply so much pressure to the pencils, because pencil strokes will give you a little bit parts which will be not completely dark, it will give you a little bit highlighted look, and this thing you have to keep on focusing also. So after this thing, just again use a makeup brush, or you can also use a blending stump, but I will recommend that for the bigger parts, always use a makeup brush, blend it, and it will be a completely beautiful thing. So now for the Gautami sketch, it is a little bit smaller and no details or not much details I saw those parts. So for this thing I have made an outline first. After making outlines I am starting my sketch with hairs of Gautami. Gautami's hairs are so much curvy. So for making those curvy hairs there are two type of techniques. First use a base layer using charcoal pencil, and then again use a blend it, and then again use soft charcoal pencil, and this is the first technique. But I have used a technique which is directly using a charcoal powder and making a base layer, and then finally I will use a soft charcoal pencil on the parts which I see so much curvy or are visible, because when I zoom out the picture of Gautami's I don't saw so many details. So for those details for hairs I have used a base layer using charcoal pencils powder and then blended it, and again I have used a soft charcoal pencil, and this was a completely easy thing. So after, as you can see that I have used soft charcoal pencil for the final thing. For the only parts that I see are more curvy, because the shadows is on the front side of the face of Gautami. If you go directly on the face, if light is coming directly on the face, of course the shadows will be on the back side part. But this selfie of both Abhyudaya and Gautami, the shadows are coming on the front side because the light source, which is sun, is on the back side part of both. So for this problem you have to make a little bit more darker thing also. So for this thing, now the main purpose and main wrong thing that I have made in this particular portrait of Gautami is that when I zoom out at this particular portrait of Gautami, I don't saw so many details. No details were completely visible, and the main mistake that I have made is that I have not completely blended every part of face, and the reflection of the goggles that I saw are not completely visible, and it was giving a completely horrible look, because the reflection is the way that it looks like eye, but those are not eye. Because as you can see that middle part of goggles, that is a reflection, but you can see that it looks like eye, and it is not eye, it is completely reflection of something that is in front of Gautami. So it was looking completely horrible, and for this I have a solution which I will discuss on the third part of Gothami sketch and Slayy point sketch. So after this thing, just make a base layer, first layer, third layer, as the little bit more darker look will be on the right hand side part of Gothami sketch. We will discuss the remaining parts and how I shade, how I make remaining parts of Gautami, which is the tougher ones. So we will discuss this thing on the third part, and you can check out this on tomorrow, and you can check out also real-time sketch, and I see you in the third part. So if you have learned something from this video, subscribe and drop a like and comment down your question and queries regarding this tutorial. Meanwhile, take care of your loved ones too. Have an artistic day. Tattoos.